good morning. And first off, before we get into our broadcast today, we want to apologize for not being able to bring the show to you Tuesday or Thursday. We had several things come up, also had family in town. And then on Thursday, we had an incident. Well, not Thursday, but Wednesday, we had an incident take place with a family member had to be admitted to the hospital for a day, but everything is okay. And we did want to just provide a show this week so we don't go without having anything. So we're going to get into it. First and foremost, good morning, everyone. My name is Brother Nate, also the other Brother Nate on that end. And today we'll be looking at, let's see here, Cuba's government says country has run out of diesel and oil. Also, potential spread of Ebola warrants serious concerns. Hantavirus, stricken cruise ship docks in the Netherlands. Europe is leaving America, just not out loud. So referring to that, we're talking about NATO splitting up. That's what that's referring to. Also, Z warns Trump that United States and China will clash if Taiwan, let's see here, is handled improperly. That kind of shows you the power that China has. Also, Trump attempts to read the Bible, specifically speaking in this case right here, 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verses 11 through 22. We'll take a listen at that. Also, the false prophet of the day. We'll be looking at Paula White Kane. Was Paula White, but I guess she got married. So her last name is Paula White Kane, Cain. And she was married to Randy White, so she should remove that white part. But we'll be checking out that. Also looking at United States House bans transgender education, which is good. And we'll also be watching Your Money is Being Reprogrammed by Andre, I think it's Jeek. And in addition to follow that up, that particular video, last but not least, we'll be looking at the World ID by the World Digital Proof of Human for the internet, but actually it's for the world itself. And everything is going to digital. So we'll be checking that out. And today's lesson or the topic for today is discerning prophecy, of course, troubling times ahead. So we're going to look at this. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. And sorry, like I said, we weren't able to bring it to you Tuesday or Thursday, but we did want to do it today. So we didn't go a week without bringing a show. So the first thing up, do you have any, Nate, first? Good morning, Brother Dorsey, Brother Carlos, and Jerry Ann. Okay. All right. So let's go check out our first article here. And this one here is Cuba's government says country has run out of oil. This is very important because, as you all know, the Strait of Hormuz is still being blocked. So we're going to see where this goes at as far as other countries as well. That includes us also. So let's just check this out.
Let's update you on what is happening in Cuba. There have been some rare protests that have broken out there in the capital, Havana. The island is grappling at the moment with its worst power blackouts in decades. It's been triggered by a U.S. blockade. We saw hundreds of angry Cubans pouring onto the streets in several neighborhoods late on Wednesday. You can see them here. They're so angry about these fuel shortages. They've blocked roads. They burnt rubbish on the streets. As you can see, this marks the biggest single night of demonstrations in Havana since the energy crisis took hold in January. Well, earlier, Cuba's energy minister said the island had completely run out of fuel, oil and diesel, leaving the power grid in a critical state as this blockade from the US is really squeezing the country's supply. Our global affairs reporter, Mimi Swaby, is with me, who's been looking into this and covering it for weeks. It was moving to this point, wasn't it, Mimi? We've been reporting on the shortages for a long time, and now they've run out of fuel.
Exactly. The energy minister, Vicente de la Olive, has finally said the island has no diesel, it has no oil, and has very limited gas. He said the power grid was in a critical state. This has been exacerbated, this fuel shortage, by the US blockade, threatening tariffs to any country selling oil to Cuba. So it's once very kind of prominent suppliers, Venezuela and Mexico, haven't sent any fuel to the island. Only one oil tanker, a Russian oil tanker, has been permitted to pass through this blockade. But according to the energy minister, the delivery from that oil tanker has now run out, leaving the island in complete darkness, so to speak.
So complete darkness, this seems maybe like an obvious question, but what has it meant for life there? How are people getting by?
People are really struggling. For months now, the situation has been deteriorating at a quite rapid rate. I've heard from residents that they're waking up in the early hours of the night, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., when there is a brief moment of electricity to do their daily tasks, be that cooking for the next day, washing clothes. People are enduring prolonged blackouts. These can last up to 22 hours, commonly in Havana and the neighboring, the kind of the outskirts of the neighborhoods there. That is on top of basic goods being scarce. There really aren't many basic goods and food. Many individuals are saying they are living solely off bread, and anything you try and preserve in fridges, you can't preserve it because there's no energy to preserve it. Solar panel has been something that many people have been talking about. We've had a few humanitarian aid deliveries from Mexico. The energy minister has also said from China has delivered some solar power equipment. However, solar panel is very expensive to start, and it's also quite weather depending, it's weather intermittent. So that is a source of potential energy, but at the moment, people are really just struggling to live their daily lives.
And that desperation, Mimi, has turned into anger as well. How unusual is it to see protests like we saw last night?
These protests are really unusual. They mark the biggest single demonstration since this crisis was exacerbated in January. Any political dissent is largely quashed by the authoritarian regime in Cuba. And we've seen many political prisoners detained now for months, years, some of them without being charged with anything. So the majority of challenges to the Cuban government come from outside the island. And people just want change. They're really hungry for change. And it comes off the back of the US renewing its offer for $100 million humanitarian aid if Cuba makes some meaningful changes to its communist system. So
that's enough of that. Well, so that right there just kind of shows you how things can change at any moment. Just seeing how everything is kind of interconnected, when it comes to oil, even with us over here. I was seeing the other day how they were saying like we have like a few, by the summertime, we might start to tap into the reserves as far as the oil is concerned. But those are definitely humans over there, as you can see. So just like that, it can be like that over here. My opinion on this, Nate, is that it just kind of seems like it may be where they are trying to go ahead and get everybody to the point where they have to bow down and beg, you know what I'm saying, in order for them to implement this new system that they're trying to bring in, which we'll look at later on in the broadcast. But mainly everything is moving over to this digital currency, where everything is going to be tracked and stuff like that. And if you think to yourself that it couldn't happen here, well, all you have to do is go look at the gas. When the gas starting to go up, that's like a sign of scarcity in a sense. Like what do they say? Cost and demand. So for example, the more and more there's a demand for it, when there's a lack of supply, it'll cause the prices to go up. And then what that does is it causes the prices to go up inside of the grocery stores. Not just the grocery stores, but fertilizer is the main one, because fertilizer is necessary to feed the crops and stuff like that. So it's having a trickle down effect on us. It's just that we can sustain ourselves a little bit longer because we're not a third world country. But that's just something we wanted to point out. Anything else on that, Nate?
No, like you said, I think it's just a matter of time before we see the repercussions, and it's just, kind of starting lower down the food chain.
Yeah, that's really what it is, starting lower down the food chain. And I think that's usually what happens first. Before the rich get poor, believe me, the poor gonna get poorer. So that's like what we're looking at right now. So, but at some point it has to break down. So, because the Lord has to fulfill prophecy, it's just that it may not look the way we thought it was going to look, which is why we try to deal with things according to the Word of God, so you'll be abreast on different types of situations. Our next thing we'll be looking at is the potential, let's see here, potential spread of Ebola. Ebola warrants serious concern. So let's go check that out. Excuse me. All right, potential spread of Ebola warrants serious concern. WHO chief says. All right, Nate, so if you can, you're going to read that for us.
The head of the World Health Organization said Tuesday the scale and speed of the deadly Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda warrants serious concern, as healthcare workers struggle to reach hundreds of thousands of people displaced by conflict and hard to reach in parts of the region. World Health Organization Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said that more than 130 deaths are thought to be linked to the outbreak, with more than 500 suspected cases. Tedros declared the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern on Saturday, the first time a WHO chief has done so before convening an emergency committee. In an address to the members of the World Health Assembly in Geneva on Tuesday, Tedros pointed to worrying factors that he said mean the outbreak has the potential to spread further and cause more deaths. Cases have been reported in urban areas including Kampala, the city of Goma, and the DRC, and Bunia, which is a big city, he said. There are also signs of healthcare-associated transmission of the virus after deaths were reported among health workers, he said. Furthermore, Tedros said that insecurity due to conflict in the remote DRC province of Ituri, where the virus was first detected in early May, has intensified over the past 2 months, causing significant population movement in the area. Over 100,000 people have been newly displaced. Tedros said, warning that the movement of people during Ebola outbreak could increase the risk of further spread. Finally, Tedros noted that the epidemic is caused by Bundibugyo strain, a species of Ebola virus for which there are no vaccines or therapeutics. The World Health Organization chief's statement comes from amid a U.S. deployment of a disaster assistance response team to the DRC and Uganda, according to a senior State Department official on Tuesday. Ebola has an average fatality rate of 50%, according to WHO. The disease is spread through direct contact with bodily fluids of an infected person. According to the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Africa CDC, it can also be passed through contact with contaminated materials or a person who has died from the disease. Symptoms include fever, fatigue, muscle pain, and headaches, to vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, and diminished kidney and liver functions, according to the World Health Organization. Some patients may have internal and external bleeding, including oozing from the gums and blood in the stool. There are no approved treatments or vaccines to the Bundibugyo virus. Medical workers are trying to develop a monoclonal antibody therapy as a potential treatment. Dr. Satish Pillai, a deputy director in the Division of Preparedness and Emerging Infections at the U.S. CDC Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, said Monday without stating a timeline. The initial round of detections were slowed down because local tests in Bunia, where the first patient thought to have caught this strain of Ebola died, showed negative results for the more common Zaire strain, according to WHO's representative in the DRC, Dr. Ann Ancia.
Okay, so that's enough on that. Good morning, Sister Sandra. So that's enough on that. We just wanted to kind of point out how that's another thing in addition to what we were speaking of a few weeks ago, which is actually this right here. And it's not that it's gone away. And that is what happened to it. I hate that. Give me 1 second, y'all. I wonder, can I pull it back up? Well, it's referring to the hantavirus. I wanted to kind of show y'all what was going on with that, and it just closed out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to move to the next article. While Nate reads that, I'll pull up the other one. So give me 1 second here. All right, so there you can go ahead with this one right here.
Europe is building the exit door from America while pretending it isn't.
Now, just so you guys know, the reason why I wanted to point this one out is because if y'all don't know, Europe and America, we just kind of narrowed down to NATO. NATO are a few nations that have come together, and mainly their defense is set up with all different nations coming together to, on one accord. America has been at the forefront of NATO, mainly going through different countries and defending Europe and stuff like that for the most part. So it's almost like they're a crony, right? Like Europe uses America as the man on the front line. When you go to war, you have different segments of war as far as personnel is concerned. So you have infantry that is on the front line. Then you have artillery, which is behind infantry, and so on and so forth. So in this case right here, it's almost like America is, used as an infantry to go out and fight all these wars, right? So lately, what's been going on? Trump has been making different types of moves or saying certain things, or conflict has been coming up between NATO as far as Trump is concerned. More so, speaking of NATO not doing their part, not paying their percentage of what needs to be paid. So Trump has been threatening to leave. So it's kind of causing all these different countries that's a part of NATO to have to go it alone in a sense. And that's what this article is really about right here. So, and it has to happen because we know that the European Union will have to form their own army in order for us to get to, in order for prophecy to be fulfilled. So, like we say all the time, America's going to take a back seat. So, Nate, if you can kind of skim through it. You don't have to read all of it right here because some of it is just kind of giving the history of different countries and stuff like that, like Athens and stuff. So you can just kind of skim through it. And then, like I said, I'll find that article on the Haiti outbreak.
I can't scroll. Europe is building the exit door from America while pretending it isn't. When Xi Jinping warned Donald Trump in Beijing last week about the Thucydides trap, the ancient Athenian historians caution that rising powers and incumbent ones tend eventually to collide. He offered the gracious half of Thucydides, the half a careful host extends to a powerful guest. The half that Europe should now be reading comes from a different passage entirely. In 416 BC, Athens sent envoys to the small island of Melos and dismissed the Melians' appeal to justice, shared values, and the rules of civilized conduct. The strong do what they can, the Athenians told them, and the weak suffer what they must. Europe is not Melos, but it is doing something that looks from a distance rather similar, speaking the language of values and shared principles, while behind that language, quietly rearranging its strategic furniture. Reem Momtaz, editor of Carnegie's Strategic Europe blog, calls this posture quiet quitting, the gradual, largely undeclared decoupling of European strategic interests from American reliability, conducted behind a public facade of alliance continuity. The facade is deliberate because Europe cannot afford to quit America yet. The defense capacity, energy infrastructure, and digital sovereignty it would need are not yet built. The risk in the strategy, though, is not that it is wrong, but that the silence it requires leaves European publics without an understanding of what their governments are actually doing and what the reckoning will look like when it arrives. Trump in the court of Xi. The Beijing summit of May 14th through the 15th provided the latest signal that American power is wavering and that Europe's push for strategic autonomy is the continent's right move. Trump arrived at the Temple of Heaven in the Great Hall of the People with a delegation of top executives and a list of expectations. He left with an order for 200 Boeing jets, well below the 500 he had floated before departure. some seeds for the White House Rose Garden, and a lecture from Xi on the Thucydides trap. The summit was not a failure in the catastrophic sense. Both sides had reasons to want stability, and the fragile trade ceasefire reached in Busan in October 2025 held.
Okay,
The
hold on one second here. So just to kind of explain, so if you pay attention to what it says here, White House Rose Garden and a lecture from, Trump went over there, and it's mainly been reported that he got lectured when he went over there. And like it says here, from Z on the Thucydides trap. So mainly what the Thucydides trap is, it's kind of it's almost like where another superpower is not in a sense explaining, but letting them know that a new superpower is on the way as the previous superpower starts to decline. Now, this is what was said. If you guys look that up, you'll see that this was discussed when Trump went over to China a couple weeks ago. And I always think to myself, Nate, okay, why does an American president have to go over to China and meet with these individuals? So as you can see, it says here, Trump arrived at the Temple of Heaven in the Great Hall of the People with a delegation of top executives and a list of expectations. He left with an order for 200 Boeing jets well below the 500 he had floated before departure. So that right there should be some type of red flag for us to see that we really ain't as super as we think we are. You know, for us to have to go over there to try to get war materials and Boeing jets from them, and then they don't leave with what they requested of them. But why do we have to go over there and ask them anyway? You know, but on your own time, just go back and look and see, do your studies on that and go see that it's not what it's made out to be as far as America is concerned. Like we're definitely starting to lose power. But pick it up right here, Nate. The Strait of Hormuz is what?
The Strait of Hormuz is the best practical example. On February 28th, Trump launched Operation Epic Fury against Iran. Having been warned by the Joint Chiefs that Iran closing the strait was the predictable response, he dismissed the warning, and on March 4th, Iran did exactly that. As mid-May, ships sitting at roughly 5% of pre-war levels, the International Energy Agency called it the largest supply disruption in the history of global oil markets. Beijing and Iran did not create this European reassessment. This came after the tariff shocks, the Turnberry humiliation, when European leaders were forced into deferential summit theater at Trump's Scottish golf resort, the Greenland crisis, repeated threats to walk away from NATO, and a growing sense that American power has become at once more demanding, more reckless, and less effective. European governments still hedge in public, using the polite language of middle powers, international law, alliance unity, and shared values.
Okay, so right here, as we can see, it's saying that the reason why they have to look at other options as far as their defense is concerned is because, like it says here, when European leaders were forced into differential summit theater at Trump's Scottish golf resort, the Greenland crisis, because remember a few months ago, he was threatening to go take Greenland, right, from Denmark. Now that's NATO, so that's like the enemy starting to eat itself. But that's usually how countries start. They start to fall from within, and it starts with the morality going down. Then it says in public, they seem like it's okay, make it seem like the European Union or NATO it's all fine and good and stuff. But look at what it says here. European government still has in public, using the polite language of middle powers, international law, alliance unity, and shared values. But behind the scenes, what's really going on? Go ahead. You can continue.
But behind the genuflection and careful diplomatic language that has characterized European interactions with Trump since January 2025, a real strategic reorientation is underway. In tech, defense, and energy, the fields that determine long-run strategic weight, European governments are are questioning the cost of buying American against the cost of dependence on a partner that has become, according to Montaz, tempestuous.
Okay, so what it's saying here, so it says in tech, defense, and energy. But behind the genuflection and careful diplomatic language that has characterized European interactions with Trump since January 2025, a real strategic reorientation is underway. So NATO is really going to start to break up, and we're going to see that the European Union, they're going to form their own army, y'all. That's what we are showing you this for. It says in tech, and don't forget the main one right here, defense. The reason why that's important because they have to get their own army. So what we're doing is we just watching prophecy unfold right before us. You know, like I said years ago, I never seen anything like this as far as my understanding is concerned. It's been almost 18 years in the Word. So when we came into the Word, these conversations were not had. Now they're starting to be discussed openly. So in tech, defense, energy, the fields that determine long run strategic weight, European governments are questioning the cost of buying American against the cost of dependence on a partner that has become, according to Montaz, tempestuous, right? So we're going to read one more on this right here, and I think this is a more important one here, and we can be done with this article. So that one right there, what does that say?
The Security Action for Europe Defense Procurement Loan Program is the clearest expression of the shift. The Draghi reports industrial sovereignty recommendations are being implemented unevenly but deliberately.
That's right, because it's going to have to come down. So that's it on that. The Security Action for a Europe Defense Procurement Loan Program is the clearest expression of the shift because they are now trying to form their own government. The Security Action for Europe Defense, okay? Right now, like I said, NATO is dependent on America to provide all of that. But they're now starting to come up with their own way to protect themselves. And I just say that, you know, this is what the Lord has already told us about. So just pay attention as we start to watch this unfold. Let's go over here to someone else. Another article. And well, not an article. This is a video. And it said, how do you say that, Nate? Do you say Z or Z? G.
Xi, yeah.
Xi.
Xi Jinping.
Hey, brother. I think that's brother Ron. What's up, man? How you doing, bro? Yeah, Xi. So let's see what he's talking about here on this video.
President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping wrapping up the first day of their multi-day summit with a lavish state banquet.
Okay.
President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping wrapping up the first day of their multi-day summit with a lavish state banquet.
The American and Chinese people share much in common. We value hard work. We value courage and achievement. We love our families and we love our countries. Together, we have the chance to draw on these values to create a future of greater prosperity, cooperation, and happiness.
Earlier in the day, the president praising the Chinese leader as they sat at the negotiating table.
You're a great leader. Sometimes people don't like me saying it, but I say it anyway because it's true.
Xi calling for a closer relationship between the two countries.
We should be partners, not rivals.
A White House official saying Trump and Xi had a good meeting, discussing ways to increase economic cooperation, end the flow of fentanyl in the U.S., and let American companies further into Chinese markets. According to Chinese state media's readout, Xi delivered a warning to Trump on the issue of Taiwan, which China sees as its territory, but the U.S. does not, saying if handled poorly, the two countries will clash or even come into conflict. Meanwhile, with the Iran war looming large over these talks, Iran says China plays a key role in its security position in the Strait of Hormuz. China is one of Iran's closest allies, buying more Iranian oil than any other country. The White House saying,
Did y'all hear that? You heard that, Nate? You heard what he said?
That they buy the most oil than any other country?
No, where he said China is one of Iran's closest
yeah.
allies. Did y'all hear that? China is one of Iran's closest allies. So when we say, well, when we explain what the Bible is saying as far as if America keep on messing with Iran, they're gonna have to deal with China. That's why we say that. But you know, it's nothing we came up with on our own. The Bible already showed it to us. You know what I'm saying? So we just trying to explain it and point it out. But you know, I mean, I just think back all the way to when I first started dealing with the word from not when I first started dealing with the word, when I first started dealing with like Brother Marlon and then IOG, then ICOJ. You know, when I first started listening to those guys, because before that, you know, Nate, we was kind of listening. I was all over the place. But when I found the right way to serve the Lord and get understanding, that's when I started hearing those brothers break that down. I think, matter of fact, Jeremy, you were around even when JD started coming around, and that's when the understanding started opening up a whole lot more. But they've been saying this for years, man. They've been saying it for years. And like I said earlier, it wasn't really out there like that. Now it's starting to be at the forefront. So we really seeing that Iran is close with China. And then China is close with Russia. So all these players, they getting everything set up. My question, Nate, is did y'all do you see how like the president of this country has to go over there, and it's almost like he has to bow down to like she said she. What she called him? She? Did you hear that? She called him she or something? The way she pronounced it?
So she said G.
Yeah, she it sounded like she had an S in there. G. Anyway, he over there like begging. I'm like, dang, you don't see them come over here and do that. You know what I'm saying? But go to show you who got the power, man. Them boys ain't nothing to play with over there. But like we know that's the Lord's army. Yeah, absolutely amazing to see that, Jeremy. Absolutely, man. They have been talking about it for a while.
The two sides agreed that the Strait of Hormuz must remain open to support the free flow of energy. The current standstill has sent global oil prices skyrocketing. And Friday will include another round of talks. The White House says the two sides will discuss trade, investment, as well as artificial intelligence. As for future discussions, President Trump says he's already invited Xi Jinping to visit the White House in September. Selena Wang, ABC News, Beijing.
Wow. All right, so now let's move forward. Yeah, if you guys have any comments or questions regarding those, you can definitely leave it in the chat, and we'll address them. Not necessarily go too deep into it, but definitely address them. So now we're gonna move on a little bit further to President Trump trying to read Second Chronicles, right? And he's trying to make it seem like this is talking about America. Let me adjust my light. Man, some people crazy, man. All right, bring this down some.
There's this show on Amazon Prime, and Donald Trump reminds me. It's a show called The Boys, and the main character, this evil guy. He's supposed to be a hero, but he long story short, in the last season, he tries to make himself God. You know, he becomes immortal and tries to force everybody to call him God. And he had this scene where Jesus came down, fake Jesus came down and took the crown of thorns off his head and gave it to him. That's ridiculous.
Oh my goodness. That sounds like Trump, don't it?
You're like just reading this and what you were telling me yesterday, it reminds me of that.
Yeah, he tripping there. That sounds like something he would do too. Yeah. Then the people around him, man, they ain't got no sense either, man. Goodness gracious. They make it seem like he's just God or something. We're gonna see that too. Why when we look at the false prophet for today. All right, so let's go and play this right quick. And this right here came about during the I don't know if you guys know, there was a 250-year celebration earlier, I think last week. There was a rededication of America back to God in observance of the 250 years of America's existence. So this is why Trump is actually reading this. They had a big ceremony and all that type of stuff. But just go to show you that these people have no clue. And I think they do. They just try to make it seem as if like this is, they fit the bill as far as who God's chosen people is and also pertaining to his holy land. But America, this definitely ain't it.
Thus Solomon finished the house of the Lord and the king's house, and all that came into Solomon's heart.
This is, I'm gonna try to hear it a little better.
Thus Solomon finished the house of the Lord and the king's house, and all that came into Solomon's heart to make in the house of the Lord, and in his own house he prosperously effected. And the Lord appeared to Solomon by night and said to him, I have heard your prayer and have chosen this place to myself for a house of sacrifice. If I shut up heaven, that there be no rain, or if I command the locusts to devour the land, or if I send pestilence among my people, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways.
Y'all see he paused at that wicked way. He's like, wait a minute, what am I reading here?
Then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Now my eyes shall be open and my ears attent to the prayer that is made in this place. For now I have chosen and sanctified this house, that my name may be there forever, and my eyes and my heart shall be there perpetually. And as for you, if you will walk before me, as David your father walked, and do according to all that I have commanded you, and shall observe my statutes and my judgments, then will I establish the throne of my kingdom according to as I have covenanted with David your father, saying, there shall not fail you as a man to be ruler in Israel. But if you turn away and forsake my statutes and my commandments, which I have set before you, and shall go and serve other gods and worship them, then will I pluck them up from the roots out of my land which I have given them, and this house which I have sanctified for my name will I cast out of my sight, and will make it to be a proverb and a byword among nations. And this house which is high shall be an astonishment to every one that passes by it, so that he shall say, why has the Lord done thus to this land and to this house? And it shall be answered, because they forsook the Lord God of their fathers, which brought them forth out of the land of Egypt. And
This make me upset, man. Let me just pause for a second, man.
Man.
This dude is really reading this like this pertain to them. I can see now, bruh. I can see now how, y'all, some of y'all might have seen the book of Eli, right? And if you go back and look at the book of Eli, you will see how the Gentile, not that we got anything against Gentiles, but just pointing out a fact here. If you go back and look at the book of Eli, you will see that the dude that was trying to get that Bible from Denzel, he had made a statement saying that if only I can just get that book, and it kind of like it kind of narrowed down to, then I can set up the society the way I want to do it. You know what I'm saying? And at the time, when I saw the movie, it wasn't really like, I just kind of imagined how that could happen. But to hear this guy actually read what belongs to us, man, they still have that same mindset. That lets me know that that's really what they were thinking. Hollywood just put it on the big screen, but that's really the mindset of them. Like you can't read all of this and actually think that this pertains to America. You know what I'm saying? You can't read this and think that this pertains to people that call themselves, Jews. You just can't read that and actually think that. You know what I'm saying? But that's why I always say how I was talking to a brother the other day, the guy called Muslim Mike, and what I did was I sent him, a brother did a class a while ago, and I think I'm gonna redo it, but it was talking about how the Quran, and I know Nate and Jeremy, I know y'all remember this because, and you should remember, because I know Jeremy, I think you was around when Amos was here. If you wasn't, it was a little bit, he did it before you came, might have been a little bit before you came around, but he did a class called The Quran Contradicts the Holy Bible. And he showed all these different things in the Quran that don't line up with different scriptures in the Bible. Like the Bible says one thing, the Quran says something completely different. That's why I say all the time that the Quran is a bunch of trash. But the point is, this guy called Muslim Mike, the other day, you know, he been watching Tazariak lately and stuff like that. And I told him, man, you mainly in it right now for the controversy. That's what's driving you right now. I said, so when you ready to sit down and get understanding, holler at me. Amazingly, the dude hit me up around 11 o'clock the other night. And we started talking. And what I did was I sent him a copy of the class, you know, with all the scriptures next to the Sirach. Sirach, those are so-called scriptures in the Quran. So I sent him the layout, and he saw some things immediately. He couldn't believe it. And I told him, I say, man, what you got to understand that the Bible, that's your history book, bro. The Quran ain't got nothing to do with you. You know what I'm saying? But he was blown. And I just told him, man, everything that the world does, they get it from our book, the Bible that the Lord gave to Israel. You know, and I say that to say that's exactly what we see going on right here. Everybody, they complain, you know, they have a problem with us keeping God's law, have a problem with us turning away from Christmas and Easter and all that type of stuff. But yet and still, just like Islam, they still want to use our book to prove their point. And that's what's going on here. I just think it's amazing. And if you pay attention, we know this the KJV. This is absolutely the KJV, what he reading. But man, do y'all hear him reading this doggone Bible like he be sitting down studying and stuff? Because, you know, some people get there, they get stuck reading the KJV. Man, he reading this thing like he got some Israelite somewhere teaching him. You know, that's why I had to stop it, because he sound too real, man. But let me just finish it. Hold on one second.
Laid hold on other gods and worship them. Land of Egypt and laid hold on other gods and worship them and serve them. Therefore has he brought all this evil upon them.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. He had to stop, boy.
I just think it's crazy because I just watched this show in like this guy Homelander is doing the same thing.
Really? Oh, you got to send me that, man.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. He literally is sitting at the White House talking to the nation, telling them, I'm your God. Like, but he uses the Bible as like a pawn, you know, and I feel like that's what he's doing. Just using it as a means to an end, you know.
Yeah.
To kind of speak to and manipulate. It's like J. Cole said in the song one time. He said he manipulates poor white folk because they're ignorant. And they just use those type of things. Use the Bible because they just like to see that. You know, that's what is a part of their you know, that's what he looks at as was it traditional Southern values, you know.
Yeah.
He knows that's his crowd.
Right, they're emotionally driven. So we can definitely use that, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I can see that.
Like, just let me, you know, just pick up this Bible that I'm pretty sure he don't read. He don't read. He looks foolish. But you know, people are gonna fall for that.
Yeah.
People are gonna fall for it.
Yeah. Somebody in this cabinet, you know, they was like, well, just read this right here. You know what I'm saying? And he ain't breaking none of it down. He just reading. He reading it emphatically too. But that's it on that. Let's go look at our false prophet segment for today. It's not long, but we just wanted to definitely point this out because it's people like this right here that actually encourages this nonsense. Check this out, y'all. Let's see here. Hopefully it's loud enough.
Cost you your life.
I don't know how to what's the name of this thing. How to start this thing over.
You were.
Hold on, let me see here. Goodness gracious. Like, notice how she's gonna compare him to Jesus. It's one thing I hate about Instagram. They don't have a where you can like take it from the bottom and start it over. Let me see here. Y'all know Paula White, right? She crazy as all get out. Man, how do you do this? Let's see here. Let's see if we can just go up and scroll down. Okay. All right, so now.
What'd you think of Paula White Keene and what she said and Franklin Graham's prayer?
Father, we thank you for your son, Jesus Christ, who came to this earth to take our sins.
No. That's not what we want. That's not what we want. Goodness gracious. Here, we'll go to the next article. Man. It does that. We have to I have to find it. If you move up too far, go down too far, it just puts a whole different video there. But I want to show you that. But just give me a second. Huh?
I said maybe check your history.
It won't let you, man.
On YouTube?
Oh, yeah, definitely on YouTube. Yeah, let me go there. Thank you. Let's check out that. I thought you were talking about like up in the browser up top. Let's see here. Yeah, see, it won't do it because that was more of a Instagram video. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it was on Instagram?
Yeah, it was on Instagram.
Oh.
Yeah, so
did you like it?
No, I didn't like it. I just tried to play it, then I moved up and came back and it's gone. Man.
Paula White.
Let me see if I can type it in and see what it says here. Let's see here. She crazy though. She is crazy. She don't want to be feeding that nonsense.
I have a video right here. It says Paula White compares Trump to Jesus in surreal White House moment.
Okay, yeah, put it on there on the bottom so we can share it. And let's see if we can get it going from that angle. Oh man.
Gotta bring it up.
How long is it?
2 minutes and 49 seconds.
Okay, I think that's it. All right, go ahead and play that for me, son. Might have to bring the volume up, son.
It's only because we don't see it. Let us pray. Father, you tell us in the book of Esther.
Go past him.
That the Persians, the Iranians,
the Persians, what?
Were wanting to kill every Jew, woman, child, and do it all in one day.
Can you go past him?
And Mr. President, no one has paid the price like you have paid the price.
Let's start at beginning of her
speech. It almost cost you your life.
Yeah, start at beginning of her speech because she said some crazy stuff.
Like you.
We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
What name gonna be great among the Gentiles,
and
y'all?
Mr. President, no one has paid the price like you have paid the price. It almost cost you your life. You were betrayed and arrested and falsely accused. It's a familiar pattern that our Lord and Savior showed us. But it didn't end there for him, and it didn't end there for you. God always had a plan. On the third day, he rose, he defeated evil, he conquered death, hell, and the grave. And because he rose, we all know that we can rise. And sir, because of his resurrection, you rose up. Because he was victorious, you were victorious. And I believe that the Lord said to tell you this. Because of his victory, you will be victorious in all you put your hand to.
Man, what is wrong with these people, man? And y'all keep in mind now. So she used to be in Tampa. She used to be in Tampa at I think it's Without Walls International Church. And when I was in the, I was in the music and stuff like that, and I was out in the, out in the world, sinning against God. Nate was a baby. Nate was about 2 or 3. Of course, me and Sister Malia were definitely married at the time. And like I say all the time, I was making some decisions, man, that was almost split my family up, but when we had got to the point where Malia, she was like tired of me. She was mainly done with the marriage at that point. I went to Without Walls, and I was trying to like get my family back. So you know how it is when stuff started going wrong, you want to call on God. So I went over to Without Walls and got baptized by I think it was when Randy White was a husband, Paula White, she was preaching that without walls and stuff like that. But man, I went down that water, boy. I got up worse, man. Then the family really split up. You know what I'm saying? Thank God he brought us back together, but that's the church I went to and got baptized. But yeah, man, she's a false preacher, man. She done divorced her husband now. She started blowing up, and now she's the advisor to Trump. And she the one. I just think in my mind, all these people around him, Billy Graham's son, I think Franklin Graham, Paula White, all these so-called preachers, man, they just sit up here and cause this guy to be delusional. But in other news, we do have something that worked out pretty good, showing us that all isn't lost. Let's check this out right here. And this is just a simple video right here. Let's see this. So United States or the U.S. House bans transgender education. We can definitely praise God for that. Why? Because we have children that are in the schools and in the schools that are being indoctrinated with this type of stuff. So at least somebody, and look here, look what it says here. So now let's pay attention. United States House bans transgender education, right? So let's look at the passage. On the passage, Republican, y'all see that right there? How many? 208 Republicans voted yes to ban it, y'all. Okay? Only 8 Democrats voted yes to ban it. 198 Democrats voted no. Now, this is important because, even though we don't partake in it, and some people do, it's not a sin. But just if you're gonna partake in this type of stuff, just know what you're voting for. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't back it at all. Like I said, I did it one time. I voted one time, and that was it. And I did that because I wanted Trump to get in there and stop the homosexuality. You know what I'm saying? Because I was absolutely against it. I knew if Democrats got in there, they were just going to continue to push this agenda like Obama was when he was in office. That's what he puts. He puts that agenda, right? But other than that, I ain't never doing it again. I know the Lord get back, he going to straighten things out. But this right here should let you know exactly who is, and don't get me wrong, everybody ain't serving God. You know what I'm saying? But I still want you to see that the so-called party that represents us, black people, right? Look at what their thinking is when it comes to a bill like this. They get the U.S. House banned the transgender education. Democrats who so-called represent us, they voted no. 198 out of 206 of them, I believe, 198 of them voted no. They did not want to pass that bill. All Republicans, 208, and 1 independent and 8 Democratic members voted yes. But only 8 from the Democratic Party. That represents the black people. And we wonder why we so messed up as a people, man. But like it says, the United States House has passed legislation to stop the transgender indoctrination of our kids in schools nationwide. The vote was 217 to 198. The legislation cracks down on public schools circumventing parents, changing students' gender and sex accommodations, while also defending gender ideology programs. So, like I say, that's somewhat a win for us, man, because if you don't know, a lot of people are pulling their kids out of school, because of this nonsense. So what do you think about that, Nate?
I think a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it just goes to show that some things are just too crazy.
Yeah, right.
But at a certain I mean, you see 198 people. What was it? 198?
Yeah, 198 Democrats.
People voted yes.
Voted no.
Think about voted no. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, just think about what they're voting for. That's over half. I mean, that's almost half voting for imposing this education of how you can change your, or how they suppose you can change your gender on, I don't know, what is it, like elementary kids or what?
Yeah.
That's
Start
insane
as
to
young
me.
as possible.
That's crazy to me. So I think it's good that it was banned, but I think the bigger issue is that one day those numbers are going to be switched around.
Right.
It's only
Yeah.
going to hold out for so long. So, but it's a good thing. But
Yeah.
just for how long is the question?
Yeah. How long? Because eventually, especially when you have like Democrats getting in office, they change things around. I would say like it's just a short-lived victory as far as that is concerned. Still got to be on your toes, man, because they're doing everything possible to go ahead and accelerate this downfall. But we know it got to happen. It talks about it in the Bible, going to be just like the days of Sodom and Gomorrah. So definitely not surprised about this at all. Let's go look at something here. Something that I was looking at when we was in Canada. I saw it Saturday morning, and it's funny. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. Right after that brother Ron had sent me this video pertaining to what we're about to look at now. I'm just gonna look at a few minutes of it, but I definitely encourage you guys to pull this up. I think it's Andre. His name is Andre Jeek, and I watched several of his videos. That's how we were kind of like, I guess, abreast on the situation pertaining to what was going to happen with war and stuff like that, because we was kind of looking at this guy. But just notice what he's gonna say. We're gonna share this right here and go through it, and then afterwards we'll look at the world ID that's being mentioned in this video. And then after that, we should be done. Once again, thank you guys for like coming in this morning and bearing with us, because had a lot of things just go on this week, getting back inside the country. That right there on Tuesday. So that evening, it was kind of hard because that evening, that's when I think it was Wednesday morning, that's when my mother-in-law got sick. And then that evening too, we got in Tuesday morning, so it was kind of moving around trying to get back adjusted. So thank y'all for like just bearing with us. All right, so let's check this out.
So some people believe that everything that's happening in the world right now was actually predicted thousands of years ago. There's a passage in the Bible written almost 2,000 years ago, Revelation 13, verse 17. It says, "A mark will be required, placed on your right hand or your forehead, and without that mark, you cannot buy and you cannot sell." This is called the mark of the beast. And for most of human history, people assumed that this was just a metaphor from the Bible, kind of symbolic message that ancient texts used to describe power and controls in ways that people could visualize at that time, because obviously nobody could imagine the technology that would make this possible today. But if you're paying attention to the world and everything that's going on today, it almost seems like everything we're watching is part of some manufactured crisis, a transition in human history with a new opportunity to centralize power.
We are now moving from the industrial age to the intelligent age. We are living in the transition to a new time, which will change everything. It will change how we communicate, how we work, how we live. But now in this new age, the base will be knowledge, data, and intelligent insights.
Now, in the modern world, people call this prophecy the digital control grid. And I know how it sounds conspiratorial, but I want to show you some things that are actually happening right now. In 2025, a company co-founded by Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, started deploying a device called the Orb. It's a silver sphere about the size of a bowling ball, and what it does is it scans the iris of your eye to get what's called your biometric signature. It's the one thing about your body that's completely unique to you and can never be changed. Now, in exchange for that scan, you will get something called a World ID, which is a digital proof that you are a real human being. As of right now, over 18 million people have already done this voluntarily. Why would they do that? It's because in a world of AI and robots, how do you prove you're actually a real person? This is how. The World ID is now being integrated into apps like Tinder, DocuSign, Zoom, Shopify, and dozens of other platforms. Sam Altman has said that proof of human will eventually be required by every website, every app, every transaction on the internet.
People are really going to need this and really going to need to do this in a privacy-preserving way. So World ID is our effort at that. And our goal is to make World ID be this new proof of human for the internet.
At the same time, the United States passed something called the Genius Act, which is a law that creates the legal framework for stablecoins, aka digital dollars. And what makes a stablecoin different from the cash in your bank account is that it can be programmed. It can be given rules about where it can be spent, on what and when it expires, and whether it works outside a certain area. The World Economic Forum is also now arguing that water, soil, and even the air we breathe needs to be assigned a financial value.
All right. Okay, now, I just had to stop there right quick. Nate, you remember a while back I was talking about the thing called a carbon tax? I can't hear you.
Yes.
Okay, and then online, some of y'all should remember we were speaking probably like a month or two ago, or a few episodes back. We were talking about the carbon tax. I was saying when it comes to grilling, fireplaces in your house, the air you breathe and stuff like that, they're going to try to put a tax on that. It's called the carbon tax, which is why they start talking about your footprint and stuff like that. But this was mentioned years ago, but now what we're starting to see is the infrastructure starting to be put in place for them to try to implement this. Now, one thing I think about is that it's happening now. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, the infrastructure, the data centers and all that's blowing up all over the place. All this being done for a reason. The biometrics, like for example, when we went out of the country, or just even if you travel local, you go to the airport, first and foremost, you have to have the real ID, right? On your license, you more than likely already have it. My son-in-law, brother Johnny, most of y'all, everybody know him for the most part, went to the airport, didn't have a real ID. No, he had just got an ID, but he didn't have the real ID, right? I guess he was waiting on him to come in or something. But man, they put him to the side. They made him pay a fee for not having it. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody got to comply. But when we went out this time, like, man, when we first left the airport, we normally put the ID inside the thing. You know what I'm saying? And of course, it gets our scan and stuff like that as far as our face is concerned. But on the way back into the country, y'all, with the passport and stuff like that, when they let us go through the lines at first, all they said was, no, this was where were we at? We was on the international side and getting ready to get on the plane to leave Atlanta. When we was getting ready to walk through to get ready to board the plane, the lady just told us to stand in this square. The man told us to stand in the square, and it just scanned our face and stuff like that. And that was our passport right there. So in my mind, I know what they're doing. Like I said, just don't get to the point where you actually take a mark in your hand. Like the noose gonna tighten that much to the point where it's gonna essentially get into the mark of the beast. We ain't got there yet, but at the same time, I see all the different things that are happening around us. We moving toward that. So just wanted to point that out.
It needs to have a price, and it needs to be measured.
Now we need to put the economics of water, not only in terms of monetary values, but also in terms of governance, in terms of recognizing water as a commons that we now need to manage as a broad systems approach.
If we're going to protect natural systems, one of the solutions is to bring nature onto the balance sheet, to bring nature into the ways that decisions are made within business, to allocate a value to it and to bring it into accounting and financial mechanisms.
Basically means the air and water should not be freely accessible. They should be a financial asset. And while all of this is happening, there's been a huge build out of cameras, satellites, cell towers, and AI data centers in communities all across the world.
Yeah.
Now, some of this framework was brought to light by Catherine Austin Fitts, who used to be the Assistant Secretary of Housing under President Bush. And she talks about a specific plan of how this is going to look like. She says that there's 3 parts that are being built that have never existed before in human history.
So there are 3 sort of pillars that I track. One is the programmable money, and that's what we at Solari are trying to stop. The second is the digital ID, because you need digital ID systems that are interoperable globally, and then the local hardware. And those are sort of the 3 pillars.
Programmable money, the global digital identity system, and the surveillance hardware to enforce both of those systems. And she says that when all 3 are complete, the people who control that system, aka the central planners, those people will not need laws to influence society. They're not going to need the police or the courts. If they want you to do something, and for some reason you're not doing it, they'll just turn off some important aspect of our lives, whether it's the money we use, the IDs we need, or they could just restrict our ability to buy and sell or travel somewhere unless we comply.
My ministers will also proceed with the introduction of digital ID that will modernize how citizens interact with public services.
That's why some people believe that this was a prophecy that came from the Bible. So in this video, I want to talk about what's being built, how this affects the investment markets, and what's going to happen to the idea of money itself. So with that said, let's get into it.
So I encourage you guys to go look at that when you get an opportunity. It's very important, and I know it may, not be something that people are ready for, but ready or not, like if someone say, ready or not, here I come. Well, that's what's going on right now. Ready or not, it's coming. So, and also, let's see here. And then this is the last one, but I do want to touch back up on the what's the name right quick, on the hantavirus, and then let's go look at the last thing pertaining to the World ID. So let's see here. And then we'll wrap it up. And this is a hantavirus cruise ship docking in the Netherlands for disinfection. I don't think this is a Haiti one. Yeah, the Haiti one says, hold on. The Haiti one says it was like 150 passengers. See if you can find that for me, Nate. Peace, sister. Hope everyone's doing okay in Carolina. But see if you can find the one that talks about 150 passengers from Haiti. And they were saying it was false, but I did look into another one and I saw it. While he looks for that, let's go check this out. Let's see here. Let's check this out right here. All right, so this is kind of coinciding with what Andre Jeek was referring to pertaining to the World ID. So now let's just kind of see here and look at this. Universal proof of human. So like, for example, when you go on to different websites now, I don't know if you notice, because I say it all the time, man, the best way to cook a frog is to boil him slow, right? So in other words, these different things that you're starting to see, as far as like when you go onto the internet and then you have to click the box that says, I'm not a robot. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the ways they slowly bringing us into proving that you're human, right? But look at what you see going on in the background here. Okay. World ID puts humans first on the internet, from dating and live events to gaming, social media, and more. So it seems like it's good, right? Sound like it's a good thing, but nah, the infrastructure is being set up. I thought about like, when you go different places throughout the world, you can still use your debit card. You can still use your credit card and stuff like that. And it just took me back to the days of after the flood, when everybody was moving on one accord, and the Lord came down and changed the language, changed up the tongues, and just confused everybody. And it just seemed like we done got right back to that again, because you go around, no matter where you go, everything is intertwined. Like, how am I thousands of miles away from my home, even not even in the States, and my information is even across the borders? You know what I'm saying? It's like I said, we done got back to those days all over again. Proof of human, allow only one account per person to prevent multi-accounting and make bans meaningful. So that's gonna sound good. That's gonna be sold to the people. That's gonna sound like that's a good thing. Deep face protects against malicious deep fakes and impersonation online. So that's gonna sound good too. Well, I don't want nobody trying to steal from me or doing malicious acts and stuff like that, or impersonate me online. So sign me up. Face authorization, a private one-to-one face comparison that ensures only the person who have verified their world ID at an orb can use it. So once again, using your face, your biometrics, your eyes and stuff like that, that's gonna make it seem like, well, if I do that, nobody else can steal my identity. Credentials, privately proven specific credentials to third parties without revealing any personal information. So of course, I don't want nobody else having my information. So just sign me up. But really, what's being done, the noose is starting to get tight. And that's like all the time we always try to point out, when you see something happening on the mainstream, it's usually behind the scene, other things are going on. I couldn't remember the video. It might be the Andre video that we just saw, how he was saying that doing, no, I think it was something else. It might have been another video. How they were saying how with COVID, that was a perfect test, a perfect way to start implementing some of the plans that they have. And then with the next one that's coming, the next pandemic that's coming, they actually gonna roll it out even more. Because people, when it comes to fear and medical and death and stuff like that, they'll bow down and take anything. They'll bow down and take anything. So just be on the lookout for that. Because come hell or high water, life or death, still, man, even though you can possibly do some things now to make things, keep your ID good and all that, just don't take that mark of the beast, because it's coming. Verify your World ID. World ID verification happens at an orb, a device that verifies you are a unique human. After you verify with an orb, your private proof of human is stored on your phone in World app, where you can use it to sign into online apps and services. So you'll be able to use this anywhere. It's the World ID. Wow. You control your data. After you verify you're human, the data is encrypted, sent to your phone, and permanently deleted from the orb. Only your phone has your data and your World ID. You're right. So look who's all dealing with this: Zoom, Tinder, Okta, Razer. And it's more likely going to spread. They said 18 million people have already signed up for it. So the rewards, built to ensure every human is rewarded in the age of AI. World ID rewards celebrate participation in World by providing access to human-only rewards for newly verified individuals. Oh, so you get a reward, eh? What do you get if you don't do it?
A reward.
Huh?
It's not the one you think.
Yeah, right. Not the one you think. You definitely gonna get a reward, but not the one you think. The new world ID and the partners bringing proof of human to the internet. It ain't even that serious, man. Like, why I gotta prove I'm human? Word ID for business, Zoom, and DocuSign integrate proof of human. So if you ever did DocuSign, I did one a couple last week for some equipment, and they sent it over just DocuSign. Did it several times before, but that signature will be able to follow you wherever you go. Word ID for agents, browser-based, Exa, Okta, and Vercel, so whatever that is. But just wanted to point those different things out as to what's coming, because with that, troublous times will be coming. So just keep that in mind. All right, Nate, were you able to find that article?
No, I didn't.
Man, I really wanted to show that. So evidently it must not have been good, because the Lord definitely kept making me lose it. So it's all good. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and end this. Definitely got to end it with a scripture. So Nate, do you have anything on your end?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. Where you want to go at?
Hebrews 10.
All right. Hebrews 10.
Mm-hmm.
All right, verse
32.
Okay. Let me know you're ready.
Okay. Yeah, so this is I think this is right immediately after whoever the writer of Hebrews is saying, he's addressing, willful sin, in that, if you trodden underfoot, the Son of God, you have a much sore punishment, coming your way. But he says something after, in 31, he says it is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. But he says something in verse 32. You can read that.
But call to remembrance the former days in which, after you were illuminated, you endured a great fight of afflictions.
Right. So when they first received the word, a lot of the saints, they endured, especially back in these days, they endured a lot of affliction, because there's a lot of heat that came with claiming, Jesus at the time. You can read verse 33.
Partly while you were made a gazing stock, both by reproaches and afflictions, and partly while you became companions of them that were so used. For ye had compassion of me in my bonds, and took joyfully the spoiling of your goods, knowing in yourselves that you have in heaven a better and an enduring substance.
Right. So during this time, when you first came, when you first got this knowledge of the truth, you had to endure some affliction. It says, partly whilst you were made a gazing stock, both by reproaches and affliction. So you were shunned. You were made to be an outcast, right? It says, whilst you became companions of them that were so used, for you had compassion in my bonds, right? So you were in prison, right? You were in prison, and it was joyfully. You were happy to do this, right? Because you knew, like it says, knowing in yourselves that ye have in heaven a better and an enduring substance. So even in this affliction, you were happy to take it, because you knew that, hey, my reward is not of this world, right? My reward is in heaven. You can read verse 35.
Well, explain that 34 again for me right quick. I might have to just come behind you on that.
It says, for you had compassion of me and my bonds, and took joyfully the spoiling of your goods. So ultimately, you enduring this affliction, you were happy to take this, endure this affliction, because it says, knowing yourselves that ye have in heaven a better and enduring substance. So you were happy to endure this affliction because you knew that in heaven, that's where your reward was.
Okay, so let me just help you out on that right there. So right here, the writer is speaking on his behalf, right? He talks about the affliction and reproaches that come with serving God. Then he says, for you had compassion of me in my bonds. You know what I'm saying? So that individual, and I say individual because we're not necessarily sure if it's Paul or Peter, right? And we never put a name on it. But whoever it was, Paul or Peter, they got locked up. Then it says, and took joyfully the spoiling of your goods, and knowing in yourselves that you have in heaven a better and enduring substance. You know what I'm saying? So pertaining to that individual being locked up and stuff like that, they joyfully took the spoiling of their goods on his behalf. And for you had compassion of me and my bonds, and took joyfully the spoiling of your goods, knowing in yourselves that you have in heaven a better and an enduring substance. So now let's go on. So I just want to help clean that up right quick.
Okay, it says, cast not away therefore your confidence, which hath great recompense of reward. So it's saying, keep that patience, keep that, that joy that you had initially, right? But the reason why, you can read verse 36.
For you have need of patience, that after you have done the will of God, you might receive the promise.
Right. So in order to receive this promise, right, it says you have need of patience, that after you have done the will of God, you might receive the promise. The promise doesn't come before the patience. In order to receive this promise, you're going to have patience with all things, especially enduring afflictions, right? That's why in, I believe it's, Mark 13 or Matthew 24, where it talks about, any of those, where it talks about enduring to the end. Those who endure unto the end shall be saved, right? But why are we enduring to the end? Because we know, hey, our reward, right, or this receiving of the promise comes after we've endured these afflictions, right? Read verse 37.
For yet a little while, and he that shall come will come and will not tarry.
Right, so it's on the way, right? He that come being Jesus, he's coming. He's going to come right on time, right? There's no doubt that that's going to happen. Read verse 38.
Now the just shall live by faith, but if any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him.
Right, so it's not no point in going back to what you once did, right? It says, but if any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him, right? So if you decide, hey, this is too much, hey, I can't do this no more, there's no pleasure in you. I despise you in a sense. You know what I mean? In verse 39.
But we are not of them who draw back unto perdition, but of them that believe to the saving of the soul.
Right. So that's not what we do as saints. We don't go back into the perdition. We don't go back to what we once did. Right. So remember in verse 26, he's addressing willfully sinning after that you have received the knowledge of God. Right. So he said, but we are not of them that draw back unto perdition. We don't do that. Right. But what do? You meet it.
Of them who draw back unto perdition, but of them that believe to the saving of the soul.
Right. So our belief and our faith, ultimately, we're believing that it's going to save our soul. So that's what's going to motivate us to, hey, continue to endure, continue to stand strong in this word.
Right. That's right. Praise God. Good stuff. And as y'all can see, like I said, the title of this particular segment today is Troublous Times Ahead. So I had in my mind to go look at Matthew 24, which Nate just mentioned. So let's go right over to that. And we're going to pick it right up at verse 13. Matthew 24 and 13. All right, you can go ahead.
But he that endure unto the end, the same shall be saved.
That's right. So this is what we have to keep in mind, even though the troublous times are ahead, right? No matter what, we got to make sure that we have the necessary capability mentally to endure until the end. Because that's where a lot of people gonna run into trouble at, losing faith. Just like in Hebrews, like we just read, we're not of them that draw back. You know what I'm saying? They just gotta live by faith. So even in this time coming with destruction and stuff like that, we have to endure until the end. We gotta keep the faith. and don't draw back. Verse 14.
And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come.
And just so you know, if this is of any any encouragement, we got a lot of work to do. Being among those people we saw this week, it was Indians and stuff like that have a absolute disdain for us. And one thing I learned myself is that, it's like it's like we're in a bubble, you know what I'm saying? And people are waking up to the truth, but a lot of people don't know about the truth. So even though a lot of things that are happening is starting to pick up and stuff like that, we still got to preach the gospel to the whole world. And it's billions of people out in the world that have no idea about what a Hebrew Israelite is. It seems like it's a lot because it's us, but it can change overnight. And until then, you see all the different things that are going on, all the trouble and stuff like that coming. Look, this gospel got to be preached in the whole world. And then that's when the end gonna come. And I seen that like firsthand that man, people, first off, they don't like us, and not to say that I'm partial toward other nations and stuff like that, but man, when we went up to Toronto, man, and them Indians saw me, man, it was straight disrespectful, man. The disdain for Hebrews, man, is just unreal. But I could expect it. So yesterday, I went to go spray one of our clients. He owns a cleaners here in Atlanta, right? So I went to go spray the property, and it just so happened I knew it was coming. But Travis is selling his business, Nate, and he's selling his business to some Indians, right? So I pull up in there, I spray the property, I leave, and I come back to pick up the check, right? And he said, "Hold on, Nate, don't go nowhere. I want to introduce you to somebody." And I knew he was talking about the Indians because I've been seeing them in the store. I've been seeing them in the cleaners lately. And I'm like, man, he about to sell a place, man. Like, this been black owned for years. He about to go and sell it. So I'm waiting on him, and he come out to the front, him and the Indian guy, and he's like, "I want to introduce you. This is Nate. This is company, him and his son, so on and so forth." And the Indian just standing there looking at me, and he was like, "So what's your name?" I said, "Nathan." And he was like, "What's the name of your company?" So on my shirt, on the patch, it has Underdog Spraying. And he was like, "Underdog Spraying? I ain't never heard of that." I said, "Well, you heard of it now? How long y'all been in business?" I said, 18 years. And I told him the price. I said, the price, he said, "How much is to spray this right here? Spray this property?" I said, "It's $65 to spray this." He said, "I don't get a discount." I said, "You are getting a discount." I said, "You ain't got to take it." I said, "We don't force nobody to take nothing. It's up to you whether you want it or not." Like, he immediately came out the door trying to like he my boss or something, right? So I just checked and put him in his place because the experience that I had in Toronto, it was cool for the most part, but that part where we went to the Indian neighborhood, to the Walmart, and how disrespectful they were to us, it just let me know like they ain't feeling us. And I been knew that. So I called Travis up after I left, as soon as I left, and I said, "Hey man, I want to tell you something." I said, "I appreciate the referral." I said, "But I don't deal with Indians, bro. I don't deal with Indians and I don't deal with Africans. Point blank, period." I say, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass on that. I'll be up there tomorrow to grab a check. I say, but I told him, I say, but after that experience I had this week, I don't got nothing to do. I bet Nate already know that. Certain people already know that we just don't, we discriminate. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's our company. We do what we want to do. But if they want salvation, that's just like Esau. If they want the word of God, I'll give it to them. That's no problem. You know what I'm saying? I'll give homosexual the word. You know what I'm saying? I'm still let my light shine. But as far as doing business with them, they're absolutely disrespectful to Hebrews. Arabs, Indians, Africans who look just like us are absolutely disrespectful to Hebrews. So I just don't deal with them. But I say that to say that here it is. I'm thinking that, we making a big old splash as far as the word is concerned around the world. You go to other places, you realize, man, it's people who have no idea what's going on. So even though things are coming down and starting to come down and we notice it and stuff, we still got a lot of work to do. That's the point of me saying that. So when it says here, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. So we have some work to do. In other words, we still got some more time. Now, the Lord can come for you any day, don't get me wrong. But as far as this gospel is concerned, we ain't even a drop in the bucket, man. These people, it's people like around the world have no idea what's going on. But the Lord can change that immediately, though. And that's where the internet comes in. That's what's preaching every week, brothers and stuff like that, getting up, even with individuals, just in the family alone, going to jobs, letting them know we keep the Sabbath. I ain't coming to work today. All that stuff is starting to take off, but we still ain't put a dent in it, at all, to the point where it's noticeable. It's going to get like that. Like Elijah told me one time, he said, before it's all said and done, Israel going to be a household name. And we haven't even started that yet. It started among us, but as far as the nations are concerned and stuff like that, man, we got a whole lot of work to do, if that's any, consolation. But what is saying, verse 15?
When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso read, let him understand.
So we see the Lord referring us back to the book of Daniel, because we're going to run into a time during these troublous times, which is really going to climax it. This man of sin, or the abomination of desolation, going to move down into Jerusalem, and he going to stand in the temple as God, showing himself that he is God, right? Not really being the true and living God, but he putting himself in that position, and it's like the world see him as God, but he getting his power from Satan. But skip down to verse 21. What time does this represent? Read that for me.
For then shall be great tribulation.
And this is what we're on our way to. We're on our way to troublous times. The gas ain't, I hope it go back down, but it just looked like it's getting worse, man. Like, goodness gracious, 409? 409 for gas. I'm like, Lord have mercy. Then I see the diesel, that's 5 something. So that has effects on us inside of the grocery store. You know what I'm saying? And other aspects of life that affects us as well. But look, it's just like we are on our way there to the end of the world, which is why we see Europe, they starting to pull away and do their thing on the side now. Russia and China, Iran and China and stuff like that. We starting to see it unfold. But he said, for then shall be great tribulation. What else?
Such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be.
Go ahead.
And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened.
That's right. So what did we end this with? Bring this back up to verse 13 and read that again. No matter how bad it get, this is what you need to take away from this period all the time. Read that one more time, verse 13.
But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved.
That's right. So with that being said, we want to thank you all for tuning in once again. We apologize for the different things that came up this week. A lot of it was out of our control, especially with our in-laws my in-law getting sick, Nate's grandmother. But she doing well now. And we just wanted to come in and make sure we did at least present something before the week was out. So with that being said, you all have a blessed prep day and a blessed Sabbath tomorrow. And until next time, peace in Jesus' name.